What's going on, everybody? Drew Sanford here with the Bass Fishing Underground Podcast. Today we got Casey Scanlon, professional angler. He fishes the major league fishing circuits, and he also is Fish Bassmaster. Casey, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me, man. Really glad to be here.
Cool. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What's going on this year?
Yeah, just been fishing a lot of derbies. We did the Toyota Series this year. We have done one Bassmaster Open so far. We got two more left in the Centrals, and then
Where was the first one at? Was that
first one
Pickwick?
was at Pickwick.
Yeah.
Yep. So had a decent finish there. So still got a shot at making top five, I guess, if I have a couple really good tournaments here at the end of the year.
Pickwick, then you're going to Smith Lake, I want to say?
I think Smith is first and then Grand Lake, so it's going to be kind of back-to-back on the last two. So we got one of them close to home anyway, and been to Smith a few times. That'll be really tough derby, but always love fishing in the fall time, so looking forward to it.
Yep, it is. What was interesting last year with COVID, like everything got bumped back to the fall, and a lot of guys, especially like you've fished professionally for around 10 years now, like you get so seasoned to January, you start down south, and then by the middle of summer it's done. And I've enjoyed it just as a fan watching some of these fall events, things like that. I think it's just pretty neat to see a difference in seasons.
I agree. I love changing it up a little bit. Always love fishing in the fall. There's just so many things you can do to win a tournament. There's a variety of techniques, that play and lures that play in every one. So you get to see a lot of diversity. You guys get to fish their strengths. So I've always been a fan of fishing in the fall and would love to see some more events during that time frame because, like you said, it really is a short season. They pack it all into the first part of the year, and then by the time summer rolls around, you got one or two derbies and you're done. You're looking at hunting season.
That's right. Well, cool, man. So, what's up? I mean, you've had a great year this year. You fished a lot of different tournaments. You've done a lot of different stuff like that. Some of them got postponed, so you're going to roll out this fall. You're doing that, but you're also fishing the Major League Fishing Tackle Warehouse Tour. So what's going on there? How'd that go?
It was actually a tough season for me. Had a good season last few years, on tour, and this year just caught a lot of fish. Just never got what I was looking for in a tournament. I never got those big bites, and unfortunately, when I did get a big bite, sometimes they didn't get in the boat. So and that happens to everybody. And it's just it was just a tough season for me. So I didn't end up making the championship, which will be next week, I believe, on the Mississippi River. So,
but you crushed it the last couple of years. I mean, you've won one. I mean, you've just had some really bombshell seasons. I thought. I mean, from what I remember,
I've had some really good finishes the last few years and qualified for the Cup most every year, and was fortunate to win a tournament at Lake Champlain, I guess, year before last. So, had some good tournaments, sometimes things just don't work out how you wanted, and I felt like I had a good game plan at most of our tournaments. Was thinking I was on to something at almost every single event, and things didn't play out like I wanted them to, and just gonna try to just focus on the next few that I got, and that's just all you can do in bass fishing.
Yep. So okay, explain this to me. The Hibdons have done really good at Champlain. You've done really good at Champlain. There ain't a lake in Missouri that's like Champlain. Why? What happens up there that makes Missouri guys good?
Well, Champlain's a fantastic fishery. Has a lot of fish. Our fisheries here in Missouri have a lot of fish, and they like to bite. So, I feel like guys from Missouri are pretty good at being diverse and patterning fish. And when you get on a lake where the fish tend to bite, you get a lot more clues of what to do, where to be, and things like that. So I can't speak as to the Hibdons and why they do well there, but for myself, I when I went there, I had basically I think we were given 3 days of practice at that point, but 3 days on Lake Champlain, never been there before, huge lake, and,
giant lake.
So I kind of broke it down like, I knew I needed a good finish, and I was in that tournament to win it. It was the last one of the year. So, I made a decision to make a far run and fish for largemouth, which, a majority of the field wasn't doing. I just felt like my chances to compete with largemouth were way better than trying to find the winning group of smallmouth on that huge lake. So, fortunately enough, they were biting down there. And I think most of us that, on the final day, I think, 6 or 7 of the top 10 were all fishing down there around me. So
That's cool.
It was the place to be that week, and I got fortunate, made a couple good decisions, and got the right bites. So, that was just a good event, and looking forward to getting back there.
Yeah.
Fantastic fishery. Watched a little bit of the Major League fishing this week, and looked like they were catching them on frog and a lot of different fun ways. So very dynamic place, and I think in general, I think Missouri guys tend to travel well. You see Jeremy Lawyer having a great season this year down the road in Sarcoxy. So something about this area of the country, I think we have just some diverse fisheries.
Kicks out a couple good guys
Absolutely.
here and there. That's really cool. How do you, you've done this 10 years. I don't want to say you're a veteran, but gosh, man, you're in double digits. With that, how do you, I guess 2 questions. How do you break down practice, or what do you look for when you go do this? And it used to be 3 days on these tournaments for practice, and now it's 2, right? It's not even 2.5. It's like 2.
It's 2. Yep. We got two solid days. Off day, and then the tournament starts. So that makes it harder. You're definitely, we go to pretty big fisheries, so you're not going to see most. You can't look at the whole lake. You're not going to be able to look at the lake. So you got to make some good decisions going into it. And I, a lot of times feel like, after practice, you've got it figured out after 1 day sometimes. But 2 days is tough to figure out a big lake, and it's tough to figure out how to win. It's you can be competitive, but to find that winning group of fish in 2 days is tough to do. So, it's probably going to take some adjusting on all of our parts. I know on my part, you're probably going to have to look at a lot more water and do a lot less practicing and kind of do you hope, analyze it from.
Do you hope you can I know when I travel and go fish, I get I fish the Toyotas and whatnot or Bass Opens, and I'll get there on a Saturday and then I'll fish Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 4 days, and you kind of, it seems like the first 2 days you're almost kind of you're there but you're not there, but you get bites and you kind of do that.
Sure.
The bites, you almost kind of got to hope that that you're going to be able to catch them on a jig if you see a lay down. The bites kind of go away. You got to do
a lot of practicing in the tournaments.
Yeah.
Like you said, a lot of times when you get to a new lake, especially one you've never seen, those first couple of days just there, you're kind of just, analyzing it still and figuring out what's going on.
Yeah.
So, you got to get on them fast, and you got to have a game plan going into it. A lot of these guys pre-practice before events. I don't tend to do that. It just hasn't benefited me a lot in the past, but it's something that, I might have to look at doing, get some of that idling out of the way, look for some of that offshore stuff so you can spend your time in practice trying to figure out what's going on now.
Yeah. When you dump the boat in day one of practice, what's the vibe? What are you thinking? What's going through your head?
Yeah, typically, try to get in early, and usually I'll have some kind of a game plan, based on the lake. Usually try to fish my strengths wherever we go. And I try to keep things pretty simple. I keep baits that I like in my hands, whether it's a spinnerbait or a jig or a crankbait. I try to keep baits that I have a lot of confidence in and try to fish to my strengths if possible. And we have huge fields. Right now, I think we're fishing 186 boats or something like that in the pro circuit. So
pile of people.
You also trying to get away from boats goes into it a lot, and knowing where a lot of these boats are going to stack up, and for me, it's trying to avoid some of those areas. I personally, just kind of try to do my own thing, and I feel like it's a lot harder to win, when a lot of the field is focusing on the same thing. So, I try to look for areas that are less pressured, and sometimes, sometimes you go on a lot of wild goose chases doing that. Yeah. But, it all goes into account when you're practicing of how that tournament's going to unfold, because there's been a ton of tournaments this year and all over the country every weekend that get decided. With that big of a field by a boat number, at least 1 day of your tournament, so
really affects that.
Yeah. If you spend a lot of your time in high traffic areas and find some productive areas, that doesn't mean you're going to get a fish in any of them, to be honest. So those are huge fields, and, these guys are good. A lot of us find the same stuff. So, the bigger those fields are, the more important it is to kind of, try to find some of that off the wall stuff, which unfortunately, results in a lot less bites during that practice period. So you got to have confidence.
It doesn't bother you going for less fish that are fresh versus.
Not typically, and you're hoping you can find, something that, you get a lot of bites doing. I like to get a lot of bites, but usually in practice, when you're looking for areas like that, you're making a lot of casts where you're not getting those bites. And, it doesn't help build confidence going into the tournaments. So you have to have a lot of confidence, to go out in the tournament and actually, wing it, start practice over and have a game plan for that kind of going into it. A lot of times you can do research and know that, these areas are productive, or maybe you're driving by them in practice and, guys are just coming off of the same grass flats over and over. And so, you go out 2 days of practice, find anything, you've been around the lake, you've probably identified some areas that look good, and you can make a game plan for your tournament to kind of go out and practice and hopefully stumble on something that you can run with for the rest of the Derby.
Yep. I like it. Imaging, forward imaging, whatever you want to call it, 360, all that different stuff. It's getting wild. I mean, I know my boat's getting rigged over there, and I've got I've got a Humminbird with a 360. I've got a Garmin. I've got Lowrance for mapping and waypoint management, and I've got multiple units on my dash. I'm pretty sure I could catch just as many fish with a flasher as I do all that, but
absolutely,
you got to have it these days with what's going on. So, I mean, what's your thought and vibe on that?
So I'm using all Garmin products. Been with Garmin a long time. And the Livescope's incredible. Yep. I know, I guide at Lake of the Ozarks in the off season a lot. And, the last 5-6 trips we've done in the last week, every single one of them, I watch half the fish eat the bait.
Really?
It's unbelievable. And it makes my practice times more efficient too. I can honestly put the trolling motor down, look around, and I can tell that there's no fish or
if it ain't there, it ain't there.
Yeah, and there's places that they're harder to see than others, but it's unbelievable technology. I learn watching it every single day, whether it's fish behavior or
I think the behavior, people don't talk about the fish behavior, but that was the one thing that I noticed. When you pitch to a fish and it doesn't eat it, and you pitch and you pitch and you pitch and you pitch, and they swim off or they swim away from it or they suspend or whatever it is, I've learned more from that and watching the moves of them and going, when I first got it was like, huh. And then you go get another one and huh. And then by the end of the day, you're like, man, I've been trying to catch 20 pounds at Lake of the Ozarks, and it took 12 to get a check. And then you kind of put that in your bank like, man, when they start acting goofy, when those fish start acting funny, they're acting funny everywhere.
It's true.
Yeah, it's just nuts.
Yeah, they do a lot of different things under the water, and it's really fun to watch them move around. Those fish are constantly on the move on that thing, and when they don't want to bite, they ain't gonna bite. They don't bite. So, and that was kind of the case for us today. We caught quite a few fish, but there was so many places I stopped and I saw them. I knew they were bass. You could see them react to your bait, maybe follow it all the way out to the boat, and very few of them bit. So it can be frustrating watching it, but it's a great tool to learn what the fish are doing at any given moment. And man, we use it all the time.
What do you see? So I don't know what you're doing at Lake of the Ozarks. If you're deep cranking or throwing swim bait, stuff like that, what do you do when that happens?
So, a lot of times it's about switching up baits. Sometimes it's about timing or area, but a lot of times, when those fish aren't biting or they're doing a certain thing, they're kind of doing it everywhere.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's about just leaving a location and hitting a new place and seeing if they're grouped up right. But you can usually tell by the way they react to a bait, if you're going to get a bite or not. Like, we were fishing a lot of docks today, and some of the fish were suspended around docks. I had a 6-year-old in the boat, and it was pretty fun to watch him catch them. But we'd throw out there. You could see we were throwing in a little Ned rig. You could see it go down. Yeah. And you could see the fish come over and get it almost every time. If those fish fall with the bait, they're pretty much going to get it.
Yeah.
It's a really fun tool to watch, and I know the guide clients, whether they catch them or not, love looking at it.
Well, gosh, there's always something going on, and you start making casts out there thinking nothing's going on, but under the water there's a pile of stuff happening.
It's true. My buddy has one for ice fishing. I went one time, and it was just like that. We didn't get bites for a long time, and then finally everything that swam in the cone, ate the bait. But if we didn't have that Livescope, I probably would have been out there for about 5 minutes and called it a day. Sitting there watching your line through
another
a hole
beer,
in the
please.
Ice. Yeah, exactly. So, but pretty fun technology. It just keeps getting better.
Yep.
And it's it's a very useful tool. Shallow water, deep water,
Yep.
no matter what kind of structure, you can learn watching that thing.
Yep. Okay, so I own a boat dealership, and I would say a majority of electronic sales are probably Humminbird, followed by Lowrance, then Garmin. But every boat puts a Garmin on the front. I mean, it's a high statistic of 80% of the boats leave here with a Garmin on the front from that, but they're not putting them on the side imaging. They're not using them for mapping, stuff like that. Tell us about that. I think, Eric Oliverson's one of our pro staff guys that does a lot of stuff with us, and he showed me a lot of stuff. I know you're running Garmin's. There's a lot of Garmin guys. There's a lot of really good fishermen on tour that are running Garmin's that are into it. And they say you guys are fools for not. I don't know why that hasn't happened on the other stuff. I think it's this Livescope such a popular thing right now. But talk to me about the side imaging, the usability, setting it up, things like that.
Well, the usability is second to none. It's very user-friendly. If you can operate a cell phone, you can operate one of the units. They have a home button, back button, so you don't get lost in the menus, and very easy to adjust. A lot of times you don't have to dive into the menus, especially like my Livescope. I can adjust the gain, or with sensitivity. I can adjust the range, which helps me, make my picture better. So no matter what depth I'm fishing or where I want to see, I can do it just at the touch of a screen. So very user friendly. Yeah. The side imaging side view, down view is unbelievable. Yeah. So we've got a new UHD transducer out, and I've been in a lot of other boats, and I think it's a comfortability issue. A lot of it, those two companies been around for a long time and been in the freshwater market more so than Garmin. Garmin's done a lot of the saltwater stuff and dominated that market for a long time. Yep. But the new UHD transducer is awesome. A lot of new color palettes. Yep. Loving a lot of the new color palettes. It makes the seeing fish, especially on the side imaging, out to the side of you, a lot easier. The down view on there is incredible. Very clear, easy to use, and it's just a solid unit. The performance of the units themselves, I can honestly say, I think I've been with them 8 or 9 years, probably 7 years, 7 or 8 years, and I have yet to replace a unit. Wow! So they're durable. They have great customer service.
You had Livescope 7 years ago?
No, I had the I've had Panoptics though for, I'm going to say, at least 5 years.
Wow.
So, and honestly, I wish I would have figured out that Panoptics a lot better. It took me a year or two to really kind of gain an understanding for it. Yeah. And then a lot of it was just Lake of the Ozarks has a lot of, I was reading it wrong. It has Lake of the Ozarks has a lot of boat docks. A lot of fish under every single dock, and I just get kind of lost fishing for them. And and then once I was able to identify kind of species of fish and what I was looking at and seeing my bait on there, gradually got better at it, and couldn't see it even going to Livescope at that point. Now Livescope is basically taking that old traditional sonar look and bringing, more like a down view technology to that forward-facing sonar. Yeah. So super clear, super crisp. But yeah,
I know 2 years ago when I got it, I told my travel partner, I'm like, I'm getting left behind. Like with my units that I have now, I'm getting left behind. So I didn't know if I wanted to go 360, didn't know if I wanted to go live, didn't know. So I went out with a couple people with both, and I ended up getting the Livescope. And it was one of those things that's like the first time you use it, you're like, my gosh, this is how sonar's supposed to be. Yeah. This is how you think of it in your head, that you wish it was, and that's how it is. And it's, even with customers buying boats and doing stuff like that, like they go, wow, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to learn how to do it. It's like the setup is not, you just go use it and it really starts working.
It's so much more so than that Panoptics. That Panoptics was great, same technology, but yeah, like you said, I've had people in the boat that are new to fishing, and they look at it and they
get kicked to the back of the boat and they go fishing.
They get it, especially like kids and stuff who are used to playing video games. They see that bait on there. You show them what a fish looks like, and they're on it.
Move. I got this. Yep. Yeah. That's funny. Get kicked out of the front of the boat with a 6-year-old.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're staring at that motor. You just put it on spot lock and let them look around.
Yep. Do you have yours on your troll motor head?
I do. I do. And I know it's, I've had that debate with some people. but I do feel like the trolling motor head's the way to go, man. It's just point and shoot when you know where that transducer's located, and you can just relate to it better and direct your cast better. I know you're going to lose that, when you do spot lock, you're not going to get that view all the time, but I think it's worth it,
I know I'm not good enough to say that I'm smart enough to point that thing where the fish are always going to be. And I can't tell you how many times I've gone down the bank, throwing a spinnerbait or a jig, and you bump to the left because you're blowing in, and there's a wad of fish 30 yards off school, and you catch them. Just the accidental fish catches with that product is just unbelievable.
Yes, there's every single day that you have it, you're going to catch a fish that you would have not caught otherwise.
100%.
Yep.
What's your setup? I mean, what do you have on the front? What units are you running? You've got the new transducer, it sounds like, obviously. What else you got going?
So I think I got the GT36 UHD transducer on the back, which is their new UHD one. Really awesome for the side view, down view. And then Livescope on the front. So I'm running two 10-inch units, two 12-inch units. And I got one of each on the front and back. And some of that's for visibility. So I run a 10-inch screen and a 12-inch screen on the console. That 10-inch screen is just so I can literally see in front of me. I run one on map most of the time, and I especially when I'm on pad and running, and then got the other one set up. Usually with side view, down view. Maybe a traditional sonar. So I got all different stuff that I can just press a button and get whatever screen I want. And then on the front, I got the Livescope on the 12. Honestly, the bigger the better on that. You're going to get more detail, more clarity. And then up front, I basically got another 10 that I use pretty much for mapping. I also run the 2D on it or down view. But, really, Livescope's all you need up there. I have another little boat that I fish out of at the house, that's not my tournament boat, kind of a backup. And, I got Livescope on there too, and just run a 10 at the back and a 10 at the front. And, man, it's awesome. So.
I remember the day we'd go to Kentucky Lake and you'd have to get the spot marked, or you have the brush pile. At Lake of the Ozarks exactly where it is. Now it's like it doesn't even matter. You just got to get close.
I mean, you can find it. If you lose that waypoint, you could scan around enough.
It doesn't take long.
And what's amazing is, those fish move so much that those waypoints are, you're looking at them, you're like, they're not there. They're over here today.
Why did I mark that?
It's amazing technology, and I learn from it all the time.
When it first came out, I was at Lake of the Ozarks. No, I was at Table Rock, and it was just a channel swing bank. It was in the spring. I got it in the fall. Fish did that stuff in the spring term. It's probably BFL or something like that. And I went down this little channel bank, and I caught him in practice on a jig. Just typical Table Rock, pre-spawn, finesse jig down a bank, no big deal. And I went back, and the next time I was there, like the bank was alive. I mean, it was alive with fish, gone. So then I start scanning with my big motor, and they went 2 channel swings out, and then I got back on with panel, and there they were again. And it's just like those suckers move. I mean, when you watch them move from here to 100 yards that way, it's like a spot is irrelevant at this point if you don't see the fish.
Absolutely. And they change with pressure too. It's funny to watch them as you catch them. You get on a wad of fish, you start catching them, and they start moving. And they start getting wise, and they start biting a lot less. So it's fun to watch on there. And like you said, sometimes that spot changes a lot.
Teach us something about you've done this for 10 years.
Right.
Teach us something about your Livescope that maybe people don't know. Give us something. give us something to grab onto.
Okay. I think the biggest thing is maximizing your screen on there. A lot of guys put it in auto, and they just, the depth changes and that screen changes all the time. But you need to be manually changing that screen, and usually depth. I'm just going to change the depth more so than the distance. If I'm fishing real shallow, I'll shorten up that distance a little bit. Or if you're losing picture, kind of at the end of that range, then I'm going to shorten it up until I get full picture. But you want to maximize that depth so you get the best look out of your units. If you got your screen's that small, and you've got your depth set for 70 feet and you're fishing in 20 feet, you're not going to be able to see as much.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to see your bait. You're not going to be able to see the fish as clearly. When you maximize that screen, say you're fishing at 20 foot, you take it down to 25, where you're picking up the bottom, but the fish detail is so much better. You're going to be able to see your bait. You're going to be able to see the fish react better, and you're going to be able to see the structure a lot better. So changing that screen is going to give you a better understanding of what's going on. It's going to give you a lot clearer picture.
It's awesome. So range setting on yours is how far out typically?
Typically, I think 70 to 75 feet is a good range. That's, you're going to be able to see your bait out at that distance, and you're going to get good fish clarity.
Is there ever a reason, or do you ever bump it further?
Yeah, I'll try to get the most out of it I can.
Yeah.
I'll bump it out a lot further if I can see it on the screen. Usually, on these lakes, you could go up to 90 feet.
Yeah.
But I feel like the detail at 70 is so much spot. Better. Yeah.
So you do that, then you hold, you want to see the bottom.
Absolutely.
On the thing. So that's what you're adjusting. You're leaving the 70s constant.
Pretty constant, and there are times that I'll adjust that 70 in. Let's say you're crappie fishing and the fish are 20 feet ahead of you on a brush pile or whatever, and you're using a tiny, tiny jig.
Yep.
I mean, you can dial that range in, to where those fish are. They're 20 feet away from you. Dial it into 30, and the detail is going to be even better. You're going to be able to see that little crappie jig go down there. Those crappie guys can pick out how the crappie they want to catch.
Isn't that nuts?
They're going to catch. They're like, oh, that one weighs a pound, and I think that one's a 3-pounder, and they can guide that jig right in front of it. So. Yeah, the more you close it, dial your range in, the better detail you're going to get.
Yep. Yeah. I don't know. I some of my buddies have it on their boats, and what I look at, and I'm sure you're the same way, is like the detail of the bottom, like in the brush pile, seeing the rock pile, the subtle things, and all their pictures online and stuff. Like you don't really see that. Like you see the bait and the fish. But it's like that's part of the game. That's not necessarily, obviously that's the cool part, but half the time it's just a brush pile there, or there's a weird little rock there, or there's something else too. So that's what I haven't got to see yet. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. All right. So you like your range, typically 70, and then you adjust the depth from there. Is there anything you do in the settings, things like that are different from factory? Do you really get into a lot of those those internal settings and adjust stuff, or do you leave it pretty standard?
I definitely change a few things in there. I'm trying to.
We don't have a screen in front of us.
Relive it of what I do, but I change some of the settings. I play with the gain, a lot on there, and that's just the sensitivity. So I play with that, so I don't get a lot of clutter on my screen. I want it to be.
Do you like it cluttered, or do you? Some people like it more cluttered than not.
Some clutter, because you're going to get the best detail. So I like a little bit of that. So basically, what I'll do is, I'll adjust the gain until I get a lot of clutter, and then I'll back it down until it's slightly clear. But what's your gain number? What's I believe I'm running about 67, but that just depends on depth too.
Yeah.
So the more the deeper you go, the higher the gain typically.
Gotcha. Palettes, color palettes, stuff like that.
I like the green one for Livescope.
Yeah.
I think it's called Black Emerald.
Yep. Gotcha. What is there any? What do you run on your side imaging?
So we have new color palettes on that UHD transducer, but I've been running. It's like a light blue, and it just seems to pick up structure real well. Does good in the sun, and it picks up the fish really good. You get a lot of good shadows on it, and the fish show up bright white on it, which I really like.
Yeah. Yep. I like it. What's next year look like?
Oh man, we just finished up. Still got a few to go, so haven't looked at it probably like I should. So I really don't even know the schedule for the pro circuit. They came out that I know starting at Sam Rayburn. I believe we go to Harris Chain as well, which I really like both of those fisheries. I think it's going to be a lot of the same. We'll probably go to some of the same fisheries, mix in a few new ones, and we'll kind of see how the Bass Opens play out, and that might have a role in what we do next year. But plan on fishing a lot of tournaments.
You fish a lot. I mean, there's some guys that they fish the 6 and then they're done for the year.
Sure,
that's not you. Not from what I've seen.
No, we're fortunate to have the Toyota series. Usually comes to at least 1 or 2 lakes close to home, and usually my home lake, Lake of the Ozarks. So we usually jump in that series as well. And I like fishing and make my money this way. So the more tournaments you enter, the more chances you got to win, but the more chances you got to lose as well. So it's kind of a gambling deal, but we're here to fish tournaments, and so as long as there's a bunch here close to home and they make sense, we'll try to get in as many as we can.
Yep. All right, Casey, thank you, man.
Appreciate
it. Yep. Thanks for coming down. I appreciate it. Everybody, I hope you guys like this episode. If you do, definitely like it, share it, subscribe, hit the ding button. Go check out Casey. He's got a bunch of stuff, and if you're not following him, you should. He's always putting out cool content and stuff, so go check him out on social media. Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a great one.
Appreciate it, guys.